Welcome to the Mystical Motherhood podcast. This is Chelsea, and I want you to create a happy family. I use my background in Western and Eastern medicine, birth, and ancient yogic practices to help the modern mother learn how to live a healthier life and create conscious children. This is your guide to fertility, conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and the early childhood years. Are you ready to live the life of your dreams? Welcome to Mystical Motherhood's bonus podcast this week. This guest has recently found out that she's pregnant, which gave me a wonderful opportunity to introduce some of the concepts of fertile for her to utilize within her life and within this pregnancy. We talked about how to amplify her environment, how to make everything around her beautiful, and how the perceptions of her world are programming the baby within. So her thoughts, her emotions, and diet all really matter. And her experiences of that is what creates the child. I'll provide you with more information about all of this as I release my new book, Fertile, this year. And you can always write in with any questions at mysticalmotherhood.com, and there's lots of information on the website. Enjoy. Jay, how are you doing today? What's going on with you?
So I'm so happy to be talking to you because I just feel like this pregnancy has been really intense, and you know a little bit of the history from the beginning. Like it was a surprise on one level, but then on a number of other levels it really wasn't, because I've been spiritually preparing for this without even kind of cognitively consciously realizing that for years. But Chelsea, I've been so sick. I've been so physically ill with nausea and throwing up, and I'm frustrated because I feel like this is the time where I want to be my most radiant, like bright. You know, there's so many beautiful mantras that I've learned about from your book, and you know, I want to be doing them all. And I feel like there's just something that is just, I don't know. I'm just wrestling with something. And then, sorry, this is kind of long, but one other kind of component of that is I just came back from a spiritual pilgrimage, as you know, a couple months ago. And a part of me is even wondering, like, am I still detoxing?
Yes.
You know
absolutely.
What I mean? Yeah.
I just said absolutely.
Yeah. So like, is that what half the puking is even coming from? You know what I mean? Like, is that some of the nausea? And how do I let that process happen simultaneously with growing a baby?
Well, you're like, how many weeks? Like 12?
9.
Oh, you're 9. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you typically, if you have the nausea and vomiting, it's going to go away typically around 12. It can be up to 16 weeks. Very rarely.
Okay.
So it's like that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon. And we've talked about before, just like exactly what the Western medical community would tell you to do is to eat the small meals throughout the day. You can go in and I can send you in an email taking vitamin B and different vitamins for that. I'll put it in the notes, but okay. I can also send you an email on exactly like vitamins you can take for that. And you can go to a midwife do you have a midwife yet?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So did you tell the midwife that you have really bad nausea and you're just, did they recommend anything?
They had some medicine that I haven't taken it yet, but
what is the name of it?
I think it's like Dico something. I'll look it up.
It is. There is a natural form of that. So there is a vitamin, I believe, I can't remember right now because I'm just blanking. Vitamin B, I believe. Okay. I might be incorrect. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I'll put it in the notes and I'm going to email you. And it's just a mix of 2 different vitamins that super good and healthy. Like every midwife should know that.
Great.
And I should know it right now, but I'm blanking. But I don't think it's bad to take it.
Okay.
And just try it. And if you're having such a hard time to not get out of the house and just feeling so bad about it,
Yeah.
You also have to realize that you feel so good. You've been super clean for like you don't drink alcohol, you eat
Yeah.
really, really well, you probably don't get sick very often. And so you're super sensitive because of the amount of meditation that you do and the amount of spiritual work that you do. So any sort of change to your dynamic is going to affect you even more rapidly, I think, than the normal woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
I mean, and people, I mean, any Western medical professional be like, that's stupid. But I don't think so. I mean, when other people that may have, like they may have had hangovers all the time or, before they got pregnant, or they may have gotten cold all the time or flus that were common. And so it's like their bodies are vibrating at a different speed. I mean, than all of us are at different levels. No, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you're coming off, so Jay, for everyone who's listening, she just did these stairs in India, which I did too, and liberated 17 generations, correct? 17 of her family. And it changes your destiny because it clears you so much. And I saw her about a year ago becoming pregnant, and then she is. And it's because
I didn't believe you. I was like, no, that's wrong. I love you, but that's not right. And you're like, okay, yes, it is.
And I see you now. I see you. I don't know what I'm seeing with this, but I'm going to give you the vision and we're going to work through it. But I see it's like from heaven, this is the baby. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh my God.
So they're showing me like all these ropes dropping down from heaven. Like imagine it's like, in gym class when those ropes would drop down. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
And then there's like, and it could be even an art event where you walk through and you're walking through all the ropes and you're kind of looking for the right rope. And I want you to close your eyes and imagine this.
Okay.
So some of the ropes are thin, some of them are kind of wiry, some of them are braided different. And then there's this really thick rope in the room. And I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just walk around and feel the energy of all these different ropes. So what they're showing you, which I believe is Jay's coming up upon her 120th day. Not, I don't know, probably almost there, but you're anticipating it. And the 120th day is when the soul comes down from heaven. That's at least what the yogics believe, and that's what I try to teach everyone I work with, because you might as well feel good then, even if you don't. But you will feel better by then because you'll be past this 12 weeks and your hormones will be, way more in balance. This isn't going to be forever. And also answering your question before we go into the ropes, you are integrating that vast amount of changes that you like your integration process came with the process of getting pregnant. Where anyone else who does the stairs, they're sort of like, when I did the stairs, I would sit in my room in the morning. I would get up around 3 a.m., anxious to get up. And I sat by myself for 4 hours a morning, integrating meditation and having like angels and masters and different beings come to my actual room, like almost like they were sitting by me. And I was almost in school for about 4 months. And so your school, you happened to come home and get pregnant.
Yeah.
And so if I was at that level of, I think I told you this story, but to give an example, I'm sitting on my couch and I felt like somebody was staring at me right in the face. And I'm having, a psychic conversation with this being. It felt like an angel. I didn't know who it was. And then I said, if you're really here, can you give me a sign? Because I'm so overwhelmed by how much presence of God I'm feeling right now. And they called me from Ascension Island on my phone, and it was 2:30 a.m. So, Ascension Island rang my phone and hung up. So, that's the level you're running right now. And so this child that's trying to get through to you, it's going to clear it all out. You're clearing out so much. And so the sickness, you've never been sick before, really.
Yes, no.
And so you're used to getting up and having 100%, and that's okay not to right now.
Yeah.
Just like we were just talking about my career before we started this, it's okay for you not to be, 100% right now.
Yeah.
Like if it was to continue past, 14 or 12, 14 weeks, then for sure I'd be like, you need to go to the doctor or you need to definitely take that medicine.
Right. Right.
But this is all normal.
Yeah.
Does it help when you're eating the crackers, or does it help if
you
take
a
medication?
little
You might
bit.
like
I think, I think it's sort of a weird, like, because I was I was drinking celery juice every day and I would, make like blueberry smoothies and I just ate so, so healthy. I think now I need to get out of my own head about, because I'm just eating so much like bread and cheese and butter and just because even like I'm craving sort of kiddie foods like mac and cheese, and I'm just craving things that are not, not vegetables and not full of vitamins. And then I think, all the crap I haven't even been able to always take my prenatals every day because I sometimes throw them up. And so it's sort of this like, well, gosh, is the baby getting what they need? Or is their brain okay? Is there, and because I'm only eating like bagels and crackers and like weird, it's lifted a little bit. I've eaten a couple vegetables in the past couple days, but it's like, there's a little bit of that guilt with it, which frustrates me because I want to be drinking celery juice and eating herb salads with every meal. And it's not working right now. I don't have a taste for it.
What about, I totally understand that, but what you're needing is that sugar. And so
no, that's it. I'm wanting sugar. It's so different. I'm like, I want like a Pop-Tart.
But you just have to trick your body. So like this morning, or you could make 2 bananas and blueberries with an orange in a shake, and you would be with like a ton of chia seeds, and you would be and then see if you want something after that. But if you start to trick your body and just say, okay, you want glucose, because glucose is what's going to help you. It actually is good for the liver, right? So glucose is not a bad thing, especially when you're creating a child. And glucose is what you need when you're creating the baby's milk.
Yeah.
And so all of this is getting you ready. It's just, you've got to prepare. It's almost you're lucky in the way that you're not working in a corporate job right now.
Right.
But pregnancy is so sacred. It's only 9 months. And if we can do it the right way, because you're going to get this soul, like, well, we're going to work on that rope, this big fat rope that's climbing you to heaven. And you're going to bring this baby down, right?
Okay.
So you're going to have to look at this period as like the building blocks of creating something incredibly sacred. And before we go into the meditation, I really want you to think about all these different things. I want to talk about a little bit about this book I just wrote, Fertile. Yeah. So with the nutrition, just in this period, do whatever you can, but to get that glucose in that way, but start the day off with it. Like trick your body, like your body's going to need it ahead of time. And so all of the prep work and all, like as much energy as you put into your spiritual practice, it's like you need to put that into your body now.
Okay.
And transfer some of the time too.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. So let's say when the baby comes in about 120 days, you're not going to be sick anymore. So let's say you spend 2 hours on self-care a day, something crazy like a bath and making your food and your meditations, right?
Right.
All in one day, something like that, even the mornings and at night. So, which is ideal for anyone that's pregnant. So if you're in the beginning of this phase, just transfer that so you don't feel so overwhelmed by making the meals, and just say, look, I have this much amount of time that I allowed myself to create this baby because this is my job right now. Yeah. And in that, I'm going to make the making of my food sacred and a meditation practice. Because what you're doing is you're just grabbing whatever you can in that moment, right?
Totally. And I'm like trying to bless it, but sometimes I forget and I'm like, eat, the chips are like halfway down my throat and I'm like, oh, bless this food. May it nourish me.
Yeah, bless the chips.
But I love that. And it's been frustrating because my normal meditation practice, is very robust, and I've actually been called to do the long Eckankars. I've been feeling that, but that's it. I'm not really doing a lot of physical stuff with it. So I like the idea of I really like the idea of putting a more meditative quality to the food prep. That is definitely not something that's happening right now.
Yeah, do that, and it's like you just have to focus on the physical body right now, and it may even be physical, mental, spiritual. You could even it's all one in a pregnancy.
Yeah.
But that's even a new book in itself. If you break the pregnancy into 3-3-3 or something like that, then the first part is the physical body, right? Then maybe it's the mental, and then it's the total into the spiritual in the last part of the months. If you can only focus on, some people can only do one thing at a time. They can't handle the whole picture, right? And so in the beginning, it is so different because your physical body is going to change. And it does need the food. And because you've never been this hungry and you've been able to skip meals, it's like, well, what do I eat? I need to eat right now.
Yeah.
And so you have to take that time to do the planning, especially if you're getting yourself sick and you're going to throw it up. Yeah. But you really don't need much more food in the beginning, just so you know.
Right. That's good to hear too, because I've been like, sometimes there's the whole like, oh, am I eating enough? And it's like,
you don't need any more.
I'm just doing the best I can right now with like holding it down,
You really only need, after the second semester, like something like 300 extra calories a day, which is an apple or something, or a banana. Yeah. It's not what we do, but it's because we're craving, because we're really deficit in nutrients.
Yeah.
And so if you're craving something, they believe it's because you're having issue in nutrients. It could also be an emotional factor, which I really want to make sure everything's clear with your mom after this talk. If there's like anything subconsciously coming up with your mom, I want to talk about it after the ropes, just in a minute. But I want to also talk to you about, because we'll get to the 120th day, but I also want just to bring up something about the mind. So with the research I did for the new book Fertile, which will come out in 2019, a whole chapter is dedicated to the mind. And I had the opportunity to work with Bruce Lipton and apply the concepts of behavioral epigenetics to pregnancy. And so what Bruce Lipton was teaching is, in general, is that genes aren't controlled. Our genes don't control our destinies or our health. And that is an old, outdated scientific belief system that is still holding our society. And I actually believe that the idea and the belief system that we're controlled by genes is what is partially gets us caught in karma and caught in samskara of coming back to Earth.
So interesting.
And it's also a part of the belief system. Like, I think it was put on this planet by other planets. I don't even know, but there's a thing on this planet that DNA can't change. And that DNA isn't, what we're given is what we get. And I think DNA is a fifth dimensional, 3-dimensional, interdimensional experience in our body. And we can transcend everything we were given in order to become completely galactic kind of humans on this planet. That's our potential. And that's the potential of these children. And so once we let go of the idea that DNA is what we get from our moms or whatever, then we gain so much power as women. And so what he was explaining to me, what Bruce Lipton explained to me, there's so much to this chapter, but I want you to think of the baby. So I want you to think as the baby in the stomach is like a movie theater. And it's in meditation, but it's consciousness. The DNA is consciousness being formed, and you are the genetic engineer of this DNA. And so whatever you see in your mind's eye will create, obviously, the feelings in your body. And so if you can create, even if your outside world is super hectic, so let's say, even if you're physically falling apart, like what's happening right now, or if somebody's at work and their career is falling apart, their boss is negative, like there's all kinds of things we can't always get ourselves out of. Right. Most of the times I would tell a woman, because of the 9 months is super short, just to remove yourself from a toxic situation if you can. Yeah. But in this case, you physically cannot. And other people, if they're in a relationship they can't get out of, they just, or something that's with the mom and they just can't move away, you've got to create a picture in your mind of health and happiness. It's like, because everything that's created that you see and experience and the perceptions of your environment is like a movie theater programming the baby.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
so
really.
if you close your mind's eye, if when we meditate and we look up at our third eye, and then whatever's in front of our third eye is a movie theater. And, or, if I have an open third eye, I often see things as movies, almost a 360-degree experience of that. And even the waking world, like what you see around you, it's all a movie theater. So whatever's in your environment is programming that child on the genetic level. So in your house, since in this pregnancy, what I want you to do is I want you to amplify everything you possibly can to create the most high awareness experience possible in your surroundings at all times. And that means when you're really, really awake after Kundalini class or a yoga class and you're super amplified and your senses are alive. It's like I want you to create that in your environment in all forms. So what does it smell like? What do you want to, so if this DNA was going to be programmed with a smell, would it be roses? Would it be jasmine? What does that look like? And you can also, I'm going to send you the beginning. I think I did send you the beginning of the book, but at the time of conception, all of the senses help to program the baby because the senses are also connected to the elements. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the senses and the 5 elements on earth are all connected. So if your partner smelled like sandalwood and you smelled like rose, that's going to be the programming for the cells of this child, of the DNA, right?
Oh, that's so interesting.
And then this is how they explain it to me. So, and if there was a sound running through you, like a sound current, that is the current and the energy that child will be given. And if there was a sight, what would it look like? If there was a vibration in your body, what would that feel like? And that's at the moment of conception. But what we have to realize is at the moment of conception, it all can change too. So you can, that creates, the blueprint. As far as I know, I'm not obviously a interdimensional expert on this. I'm just as far as they've taken me, is all of that matters. And so does your elements. So if you were running, so we know that there's fire, water, earth, air, and ether.
Right.
And for example, when I became pregnant with Sage in India, I was running the energy of fire, meaning I was going through an alchemical transformation spiritually, which was causing there to be a lot of outside influence of fire hitting my life. And fire helps to transform things. It helps to burn karma. It is what Kundalini uses. And so my children were programmed with the element of fire, a lot of fire. And they're very spirited, they're very energetic, they're very movement. So at that conception time, you can kind of look back and be like, well, what would my senses be? And was I in you might have been in water.
Yeah.
And you might have been programming a bit, so because you just did the stairs.
I remember there was like so much magnetism, but I don't know how that relates to the elements necessarily. But I remember it was like I had just done some meditations for magnetism, like through some of the men's grace work. Like one of those weekends, I had just done all these meditations. And then when my husband got home, I remember I felt like totally magnetized. I mean, maybe that's a little fiery too, but it was, I don't know. Could it be 2 elements?
It absolutely could be 2 elements. Yeah. Think about Ayurveda. There's Pitta. There's Kapha Pitta.
Right.
It's going to be all the elements.
Right.
But it's going to be, it's the programming of that's just the base frequency of the conception point. So what matters, what I focus on now is there's genomic imprinting, which is actually a period that science now is claiming as a period that the DNA can be programmed, and it's about 2 to 3 months before the egg drops. So the 2 to 3 months before you become pregnant, you're actually programming the DNA of the potential child you'll create. So good news for you, because you did it. You programmed a clear child.
Wow. Yeah.
So you did it. You might have actually even done the stairs 2 months before. Do you understand? That's how powerful what this baby could be.
Wow.
So that's called the genomic imprinting period. And in the Aboriginal culture and different cultures around the world, they don't even have the text for this anymore. It's like just kind of in a couple of books. They would take the women, because the men and the women, it was a planned event having a child. Right. And they understood all of this. They understood consciousness. And we've forgotten these things. These are, these are patterns I'm hoping to bring back to the earth so that we remember that women have the power to program the consciousness of the child and the people the humans we create on this earth.
Yeah.
It's the most power. We are genetic engineers, and I don't know anyone who's talking about it like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so they would take 3 months before a couple had a baby and completely hope to clear the genetic line and energetically. And so you did that by doing the stairs. Yeah. So then you get pregnant. And so now, of course, you're going through the process of, transferring, becoming pregnant. Everything you're feeling is normal. And then you're going to feel like $1 million the second, semester or trimester.
Yeah.
But if you begin to going back to the program and the environment, think of yourself in time and space. And then just realize everything around you, how can you make your home more beautiful? How can you make your experience more sensatiable? How can you make food that makes every taste is programming that child. And it's that's how you've got to look at your food now. And that's why I'm bringing all this up, going back to the food, which is your main issue right now.
Right.
Is, okay, if I'm programming the consciousness and the DNA of this cellular energy, which you are still programming, doesn't mean the soul, you're not still programming this body, even though soul hasn't arrived until the 120th day. Right. It's, how can I amplify that? And how can I get how can I, this banana, and just enjoy the taste of the banana? Yeah. And it's all about getting as aware as we can and as conscious as we can, and feeling as good as we can, even when we don't feel that good. Because we can admit that we don't feel good, and then it's okay, let's not, get in self-pity and victimization about this. I am going to have a beautiful child. A lot of women can't do this right now, and they want it so bad. I'm so grateful. Let me change my perception of my environment so I can create the best baby possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really like that. And to be honest, I've been kind of feeling that way, but I haven't heard it described the way you just described it, which I really appreciate, because I've sort of been feeling like I'm done with the pity party. Even this morning I was throwing up, and I was like, okay, I'm throwing up, and then it's over, and then I'm going to eat some breakfast, and it's all fine. Get over it. I'm not crying and lamenting about how miserable I feel. I'm just all right. I'm yes, there are parts that are frustrating, but it's also, I get the whole, I think I'm really trying to grok now that this time is so limited. And even though, on one level, my physical body feels pretty shitty, on another level, there's so much to be grateful for. There's so much I can amplify in my home environment. I've been really working on making it more of a temple, and there is some stuff I can still do. So it's good to kind of give me a little kick in the butt for that as well. And to just I love how you described it too, about, because when I finish a Kundalini class, it's I open my eyes after we, chant Sat Nam and the final closing, and I feel my vision has totally been enhanced. I feel the shapes and the colors and the sounds, everything is amplified. I think that's the word you used. And I have not been viewing my surroundings in that way. And that's a really tangible thing I can work on. So I really like that a lot. I needed to hear that.
It kind of comes back to that quote. Do you remember that quote? I will make everything in my life beautiful, and that will be my life, or something like that. It's we're always doing so many things and thinking about the next thing we're supposed to do, and then and it's in the 9 months. Okay, we can't do that forever. That would be la-di-da, because we're on Earth and we have shit to do. But in that 9 months, it's the most important critical period of motherhood, and make everything beautiful and take that time, because it's going to be over so quick. You're going to be like, I have a baby now. And that's a whole nother issue, right? But if you can just, it's everything you do, make it a beautiful experience, and then offer like the giving to your husband, and make it all into, and to about the making your house into a temple. That's almost half a chapter on that, is because of the elements are so important to the creation of a child. So sacred geometry is involved. I mean, it's a beautiful experience how the sacred geometry changes into the child, but each of the sacred geometrical shapes are connected to an element. And so we're getting alchemy is an internal process and an external experience too. So when spirit starts to work with you, alchemy is happening to everyone at all times. They just may not be aware of it. And so fire moves in to, transform. Then the water comes in to dissolve and help you to let go of everything that you transformed. So that would be like, let's say an example of this would be you have a divorce and the fire comes in and just, you have a big fight and then you break up, and then you'll experience the energy of water as you cry and you let go, and this can be with anything, a career, all the belief systems, genetic line, and all our misperceptions of our life, right? And then the wind will come in to change your life. Like if the wind moves in to say, okay, now you let it go, but it's time to move to a new place across the world. Or the wind will help you get a new job. The wind will just like pick you up and move your house. And then earth will move in. This is this is how it moves, alchemy from the outside. And then you're also experiencing that on the inside too. And so earth will then come in, and earth will then ground you because you've gone through all the elements. And so you need to kind of figure out where you are now. And it feels like it's like your water earth. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I've been really like grounded lately, and it's been nice. But yes.
And it's really important to have the earth element when you're, especially in these beginning weeks, because there's different frequencies and different wavelengths and sign frequencies. So the whole entire world is made up of energetic frequencies. Everything, books to tables, to me, to these higher realms. And so when I go into the higher realms and I go into these higher dimensional forms, or you could call them up or down, I don't know where they are, but they're almost right in front of me. Their frequency is so high, they have no density and there's no physicality to them. So as you drop down into the earth realm, we are super dense.
Yeah.
But in order to hold these types of children, or order to hold a pregnancy, like a lot of times, I don't know, I can't prove this, and I'm not trying to offend anyone who's listening that has had a miscarriage, and I don't mean it in any way, it might be incorrect. But sometimes in our lives, it may not be true for everyone, but if you're carrying an energy that's really flighty or disproportionate or kind of fiery and can't keep a job or can't stand still or is really anxiety or completely neurotic, those types of energies are fuzzy, or they're not solid and earthbound. And so it's going to be harder to energetically hold a child in the womb with that type of energy running your life. And so having that grounded energy along with the water is really, really like water is what you kind of utilize during pregnancy and what you should honor because you're creating it in your body. Does that make sense? And so on those altars, you can honor the elements and this outside alchemy and also inside alchemy on an active temple altar in your house. Do you have one?
I do, and I have some water from my sacred trip actually that's sitting there. It's just in a little like water bottle from when I got it. But yeah, I've been thinking about that. I love that. Yeah.
Because it keeps because at least like when you went to India and some of the places were super high with energy, it's not necessarily, it's because the temple keepers maintain the temple.
Yeah.
In Bali, they're constantly maintaining all these temples. And so the reason
that
why
is-
Bali has all that energy.
They wash the floors of the Golden Temple every night, like vigorously. Like it's constant. It's like a total meditation. That's so, wow, that's such a good point.
Does that make sense? There's these are already sacred spots on earth.
Right.
But then maintain that type of the energy would just maybe disappear into the ethers if there wasn't temple keepers. And so we have to think of our bodies and our homes as temples. If we're going to bring down children that are, if we're going to bring down children into a temple, right? How do we create that active temple on the inside and on the outside? And sometimes when we're going through these processes, like you're throwing up, so maybe you want to put earth on your active temple. And people can be like, oh, this is silly, I don't have time for this. But I can tell you, like, if you go to these places and so a way to keep a temple is you put all the elements on a beautiful, somewhere sacred in your house, and you just maintain that. And you can have more than one. So if you're really, really sick, pray. Be like, help me. This is crazy. I don't want to be this sick anymore. I've learned my lessons, and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. I think I have one downstairs, but I've been spending a lot of time upstairs, and I feel like I might need to like make another little one. Though it's funny, as I'm looking over, I kind of almost have one. I have like a cup of water, a crystal, a shell, a rock. It's really funny. It's like, it's kind of, I think I'm even doing it intuitively.
And you can do it all over your house. And that's also about making things beautiful. And, and you're asking spirit to come in, and that's going to create an energy, because all of this is not, this is all your own experience. So you may be having an amplified experience of the world, and your husband and your family might be like, I hate my day. Like you're like, no, it's so beautiful. Yeah. Like, it doesn't even matter. Look at my temple. And it doesn't matter what anyone else is feeling or what's going on in the world. It's only your perception of the environment that programs the child.
So interesting.
It is so fascinating, because that's how like consciousness is formed. If you think about it, it's just, you are the movie theater for your baby. So anyone you interact with, any fight you have, any job, any career, anything in your house, all of your thoughts, especially the mental pictures you create, is the programming of the genetics. And I asked Bruce Limpton, okay, so what is the most important thing that programs genetics? And he says it's the pictures in your mind. And I was like, well, can you explain that? And he said, yeah, when you are, like, say somebody eats poisonous food. He gave me a few examples. So if somebody's eating, there's people that and the beliefs and the pictures in the mind that they create around their belief systems around something. So here's an example about belief systems, like religious people who drink that strychnine, or something that would kill another person. They believe they won't die, and so they don't, right? Also with nutrition, they've done studies, and if somebody like looks at the food and believes that food is really nutritious for them. So he was saying it almost doesn't matter what you eat, as long as you believe that food is going to nutritionally give you energy.
Wow.
So if you're believing that these crackers don't give you nutritional energy, like your body may be effing needing crackers,
right?
And eat them, you know? It may be like the first time you've probably even done that, and you're just hungry. And so it's more, you've just got to realize how powerful you are as a creator. So you have to believe, be sacred. I'm blessing my sacred crackers. They're so sacred, but they are so nutritious, and they're filled with this, and you can list the vitamins. And that's more powerful, he's explained to me, and science is showing, than even the nutritious food that you eat, because you believe it's going to heal you. And your mental projection it says that food is holy.
Wow. I love that.
It's hard to do, because we have that. It just shows our ingrained belief systems of like,
right.
And this can go to anything. Think about like my sister or my mom's a BITCH, right? And you could be like, my mom is holy, and your whole belief system's like, nope, she really isn't. She's a... it can go to everything. You just have to, it's about dropping the belief systems consistently through pregnancy, so that you have nothing left but holiness. Because all those belief systems, even the belief systems that crackers are these things, because they are and they aren't.
Yeah.
Do you see the power of that? Like, only because we believe the crackers are really bad for us does it make them bad for us. Only sometimes, I mean, this may not be true for every instance, but if you have one person that believes that they're beautiful and skinny and another person that believes that they're fat and ugly, don't you think that the person who believes they're fat and ugly is going to create more fat and ugly consistently because they believe that so strongly?
Yes. Yeah, I do believe that so much. It's amazing how the power of belief can just infiltrate everything. It's so interesting.
Is this helping? Do you have any questions around this? And then we can get to anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess like, okay, the moments where I am shaken out of my neutrality or, have a little bit of fear or have a little bit of overwhelm. Something happened the other day where, we were, I hadn't been out in a while and I was like, let's just try to go to this little marketplace and walk around. And then we got there and I was feeling really terrible and I thought I was going to throw up and I didn't, but it was kind of like, and then my husband was getting kind of pissed. He's like, why did we even come? You're not feeling good. And I was just like, just kind of in a down state. And then we just started passing like so many children, like all these moms and these babies and these baby carriages. And I started to just get so overwhelmed. And then I just got really upset and I cried a bit in the car and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm going to have one of these soon. It was just sort of the reality check of it all. And it was passing and it was okay. And I'm not freaking out every day, but I guess with those moments, I want to make sure that's not imprinted on the baby, like any form of rejection or any form of that fear. And what can I do to neutralize those moments?
That's a really good question. Okay, so I asked Bruce Lipton. So if anyone's listening, Bruce Lipton is the leading scientist in the world on behavioral epigenetics. And that's what this new book, Fertile, that's going to be released in 2019 is about. It's about applying science and spirit to creating an enlightened child.
Yeah.
And I asked him in one of the interviews so what's gonna, like, what happens when those things happen? Like, when we have moments like people are gonna get fired, there's gonna be deaths, you may lose your spouse, like there's these consistent problems in our life. What do we do when we can't keep that perception high? When we're just normal humans and women that just break down because we're pregnant. And he says it's not the fight or flight response of like the programming has to be consistent images over time to create that imprint. And so doing like an occasional fight or flight or an occasional fear or an occasional, like it's like a movie. There might be a scary scene, but you don't remember the movie from the scary scene. But if the entire movie is a drama, if the entire movie is a thriller, it's like, what is your movie you're creating for the kid? And you could even sit down and write that. Okay, so my movie is going to be based off of love and harmony, flowers and candy and whatever. And other people's might be like, I want it to be hip hop and I want it to be science and I want it to be, art. I want it to be mystery. Or then the next mother might be like, oh, I just want to base my life off romance. It's like, it's exactly what Guru Jagat says. What is the experience you want to create?
Wow.
It's exactly that with the program the baby. What is the baby you want to create? And so if you want it to be the romance to be programmed into the baby, make your life romantic. Everything, just your experience of romance is like, went out to dinner. Oh, this is the most beautiful thing you could have done for me. Right? And then that motion feeling is that experience. So if your whole movie, you got a romance movie running, right? And in that romance movie, maybe she has a breakup. The baby's not going to remember the breakup. The baby's going to be like, oh, the whole movie was romantic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's so helpful. Oh my gosh, because I was beating myself up about that.
No, and you let it go. And in the moment, you let it happen. You can't sometimes we have so many spiritual tools and that's great. You can use your mantra and you can do what you can. But we have to run emotions. We're human.
Yeah.
It's just how long do they run us for? And how long do we react?
Yeah.
And I mean,
oh, I love that.
Like I do with my kids all the time. Like I still think I'm a bad mom, and I have to remind myself I'm not, and other people have to remind myself I'm not. For example, you might tell them 6 times in a row. I just did it this morning. You come downstairs, come downstairs, come downstairs. Please come downstairs. They don't come, so I yell, "Come downstairs!" Right? And then I'm like, "Oh, I'm a bad mom." I just programmed their subconscious because I yelled at them. I do it every day, right? But they're not necessarily going to remember that one time. I think about that one time all day.
Right.
And I think, oh, I'm screwing them up.
You gotta drop
my
it.
mom did. I do what my family did. You know, like I'm a bad mom. But in reality, they're probably just laughing that mom screamed. You know what I mean? Yelled at them to come downstairs to get their hair done or something.
Right.
So
that makes a lot of sense. I love that.
And if you're doing all the other things in your movie script, so just remember, I am a genetic engineer of my child. I am writing a movie. I'm the screenwriter. And so in your movie, you're also creating meditation and mantra and all these other things. I mean, so almost like anything that you could do. I mean, Hari Jiwan taught us that, okay, if you have music on in the background and the kids are running around, even if your family is a shit show, sorry my language, but like the mantras playing for the children are going to just, it doesn't matter what you guys do as much. And that's the same for us when we're pregnant. If we have a meditation practice or a yogic practice of some form, that's going to overcompensate for any sort of issues that come up.
I love that so much.
Does that make more sense to you and take away the fear?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I'm really excited to write this movie out. Like, I'm excited to be like, okay, of course. And I think a lot of mothers probably have a similar, vibe. I want love to be a big part of this child's life. I want radiance. I want yoga. So it's like, I get to,
Write the script.
Yeah. I like that idea of scripting out. Okay. Well, what does the experience of love look like? And how can I, share that on a screen with my child, like through whether it's like petting my dog or like loving the food I'm eating or loving my husband or whatever. I like that. That's so cool. Can we go
make more sense and take a little pressure off? That it's a long movie and there's going to be ups and downs in the screenwriting. But if you have the base of the movie is romance, the baby's going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's consistent programming which creates the genetics, not blips.
Okay. Thank you. That's
according to science. And then of course if you're doing, so you said long neck on cars, is there a reason you chose that or is that intuitive by chance?
It was intuitive.
Buddy, you want to hear why it's intuitive?
Tell me.
Okay, so everyone who's listening, there's this meditation called long neck on cars. And when I was pregnant, I didn't know anything about Kundalini yoga. And I randomly found something online because when my baby came in at 4 months at the 120th day, which is written in my first book, Mystical Motherhood, everything about the 120th day and how to plan for it.
So good.
I was doing long neck and cars with my baby and I didn't know why I was doing it. I just did it my whole pregnancy. I'd never meditated in my whole entire life. I was sitting down doing long neck and cars and my husband at the time was like, "What are you doing?" Because we weren't in that spot in our lives. I just would wake up in the mornings for sadhana singing long neck and cars and there's thousands to choose from. I later found out that the long neck and cars is the meditation that bridges the gap between a very high caliber child, like an enlightened child, and a human.
Whoa.
So that's the meditation you should do. And then perhaps you'll add the Shakti one on later if you want to.
Right. I started with that one and I've always loved the mantra but I was doing it a couple times and it just wasn't clicking. And maybe, of course, if I find out I'm having a boy, I will do that and I'll just listen to it and all that. But the long neck on cars, it's weird, Chelsea, because it's kind of a love-hate. Like I sort of hate every moment of it, but I feel like I'm supposed to be doing it. And I'll often get sick during it. Like yesterday I threw up during it. Like I had to go and stop. So I wonder too, if that's part of that purification process.
If you intuitively feel it's in a purification process, it probably is.
You do.
Then that's what it is. And you just did something, for your whole family. And then you got got pregnant with an entirely new type of child that's unlike your whole family, and it doesn't
Right.
have the same line, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you know
Right.
you would know better than anyone what it is. And the long neck and cars is normal to do because it, like I said, it bridges the gap between that type of a child and you. And yeah.
I can't even do it sitting up the whole time. Like half the time I'm just in child's pose because I like my stomach hurts, but I'm just still doing it.
You're in child's pose. Oh, that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Forehead on the floor, like, or
I
like
think you should
squatting.
try the medication if you, I mean, just try I'm going to give you I'm going to look up the antidotes
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then try those first. I think you would just get them at the drugstore if I remember right. I'm so
Okay.
sorry I can't remember at the top of my head
Okay.
right now.
Can you go back to the ropes? I'm really
Yeah,
fast.
we're going to do it right now.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Okay, so go into the room. It's like a gymnasium. It could be even the gymnasium you grew up in.
Yeah.
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like the ropes is like it would be a room full of ropes, kind of like an art experience where you walk through sheets
I
or
totally see it.
you see it?
Yeah.
And I want you to start to touch all these different ropes.
Okay.
And then I want you to keep on going around so you're like, you're looking at the ropes and there's a glow coming from the ceiling because it's almost like there's not a ceiling. There's a specific hole in the ceiling you're going to find. So I want you to find the rope that's yours.
Okay, I see. It has a color. It's really bright.
Yeah, so tell me what it looks like, feels like, touches like, because this is also it's also a representation of the DNA.
Okay, it's like neon pink.
Okay.
And it's really like braided really thickly, and it's got like kind of big, like, I don't know what the word is, but notches where you can like more easily grab, or like if you were climbing up, it's like really good, easy to put your feet on or put your hands on. It's like just really thick pink braid with these like big notches every foot or so that are like really stable.
And does it have a texture and a smell or anything, or does it have anything like that just by chance?
The texture is nice. It feels like it's not like silky, but it's like it's smooth. Kind of like a ribbon, but again, not silky. And then let's see if it smells like anything. Yeah, I think it smells like a flower, like a rose.
Like a rose?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about it? Like, can you taste it? Because so we have a color, we have a texture. Does it sound like anything if you put the rope to your ear?
I don't know about the taste. It definitely sounds like it's funny, I have mantras playing right now. So I'm like, what's the mantra playing now? And what am I like hearing right now for the meditation?
Can you tell me why there's knots in it?
Like the knots are to sort of help the climb, or like it makes it really sturdy. The knots, they're like I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be climbing up it, but if I were to climb up it, it would like make a climb really easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you see anybody now? Close your eyes really deep and look up. Now look up at the ceiling. Do you see anybody trying to reach out for you up there?
I think it's a little girl.
Okay, so I want you to climb the rope because I see a hand. It could also be a representation of you or your higher self, which we'll find out when you get up there. So go ahead and climb the rope.
Okay.
And I see this little girl reaching her hand out too.
Yeah.
And we'll find out who it is. So go up and just watch yourself climbing, and you're going up into the sky.
Okay.
And let me know when you get there.
Okay.
Who is it?
I don't think I know her.
I think it's a part of your higher self. It's like an angelic, I see it as like it's a feminine angelic figure and of your higher self. Would you be willing to merge with this right now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I just want you to feel like these wings are enveloping you. And if this is really you merging with your higher self right now, I honor you deeply because your life will vastly change. I want you to see you cross, they want you to cross your arms right out in front of you. And it's almost like you're totally, and it's like you bow your head down. And then just allow this hands to hold you, and these angel wings will come around you and just completely envelop you. Do you feel that?
Yeah. Wow. It's like
Are you seeing any colors around you
really
or anything
golden.
change?
It's really golden.
Can you say, I am merged with my higher self now?
I am merged with my higher self now.
I move fully into my destiny.
I move fully into my destiny.
To be guided by the One.
To be guided by the One.
I no longer need to question my intuition.
I no longer need to question my intuition.
Or the path that I'm on.
Or the path that I'm on.
Because I have merged with my higher self.
I have merged with my higher self. Wow.
Now I want you to sit in heaven, and I want you to look at your hands, and I want you to look at yourself as this merged individual. Like, almost like, what is it, you know?
Mm.
And just acknowledge that it's happened, because, I mean, when a person merges with their higher selves, you'll begin to almost, it's a palpable and real experience on earth, because you're no longer guided on an earthly realm. You have the ability to be more intuitive, and it's almost like a voice will speak to you. You know, when you close your eyes and you ask a question, and sometimes you're like, well, is that right? But you'll actually begin to hear, and I want you to consciously allow yourself to have this happen quicker for your earth experience, is you'll be able to hear, like if you ask a question like, is my baby all right? And the voice will say an entire answer to you. And it will feel different than actually your mind speaking, because your mind couldn't even have come up with the answers that your higher selves did. And so the individuals that have the honor of merging with their higher selves on earth, they'll begin to amplify their spiritual experience faster. And things will, I mean, it becomes way more magical and much more open. And so the higher self is it's your driving system for earth, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
It's your oversoul. And merging with that on earth is actually one of the greatest purposes that we have, because it brings so much more light to the world, and you move from a place of knowing rather than a place of fear.
Wow.
How does that feel when we say that to you?
Amazing. It's funny. I've been feeling this image of like this golden goddess, or like this golden energy, this golden aura that I'm like was wanting to embody or wanting to be like. And I feel like that was my higher self. Like that was it.
Well, I saw this like light being and reaching out for you with this hand. So just so you know, when I merged with my higher self, I was with my teacher Celestine, and I saw this hand reaching out for me when I closed my eyes, and I said, "Who's this hand?" Almost like in those Instagram videos where the hand reaches out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the woman's at this beautiful temple, and she's got her hand out, and I'm like, "Oh, that's their higher self." Psychologically, like that's exactly what it looks like, at least for me.
Wow.
And when I saw your higher self reaching out, I said, oh my God, that's got to be your higher self.
That's so cool. It feels amazing. I can feel it like a lot in my crown. A lot's happening up there.
So now that you're sitting in this higher realm, I want you to just, one thing we forget to do is pray and actually ask for help. And so you can set down all these physical and just say, if I'm integrating all of this process and my physical body had to integrate it at this level, can you help to soothe that for me? Can you help to take away any pain or issues around that, right? And then do you have any questions you want to ask when you're up here?
I guess what else can I be doing to support this soul? What else can I be doing to be the purest, clearest vessel for this soul?
I mean, I don't see anything. You're doing everything.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Please write into mysticalmotherhood.com with questions, and don't forget to subscribe or leave a comment on iTunes. It really helps.